a video or a tape recording of the exact words that you said and run it through your mind a few times. And just appreciate how stupid it is, you know, and actually play the words back. And to think that you actually said those words in your mind about this person, or, you know, aspiring bodhisattva like us said something like that even in our own thoughts. And be specific. It doesn't have to be big, it can be small. Now for the opposite, rejoicing, something very, very specific that you did right in the last 24 hours. Be very specific and find something and take credit. And it's not pride, it's rejoicing, and it's proper. And the Buddha said to do it. And find something you did right and be happy about it. If you have time in the next 10 breaths, think about His Holiness's virtues or Lama Sepa's virtues or the other great lamas, the great deeds that they're doing in the world, and appreciate those. Okay? You can do one or the other. Usually it's good to alternate different days. When you're in the mood, think about Lama Sepa's great deeds, and then when you're in the mood, think about some good thing you did in the last few days. Very specific. It's also very nice to rejoice in the good deeds of normal people who are, supposedly they're not Buddhist, but they're just the normal people around you who are very kind and doing great things. Next, ask for teachings. Request that the lamas teach you. And this can extend to your family or your friends or your people at work. It can be the people who teach you scripture or meditation, and it can be the people who really irritate you and teach you patience. And ask them for more teaching. And then when you get it this afternoon, don't complain. In the last preliminary, think of the sweet teachers you have in your life. They don't have to be Buddhist. Anyone who's helping you, teaching you, and also your good Dharma friends, the ones that you'd like to stay close to because they're such a good example and they help you so much. They support your practice so much. It doesn't have to be necessarily Buddhist. They could. I had people at work who were very fine examples for me, and pray that they stay in your life. You can go back to your breath, 2 or 3 rounds of 10. And at this point you can move around a little bit, adjust your... This is a good place when you're meditating to get your back straight again and get your head straight again and scratch that itch that's itching and then go back in. That's just a good time generally to adjust your posture. Blow your boogies out. The whole point is by now, the whole point of preliminaries is that by now your mind is very mellow and you've thought all these good thoughts, you've had some time to think about your holy lamas and the great deeds of the great lamas, and you've had time to clean out your conscience, and you've had time to think about the good things you're doing, and by now your mind should be suruma, means very, very ready to slide into meditation. So go back to your breath. If you don't feel like refreshed or invigorated or inspired by now, then the preliminary didn't go too well. Okay. And put your mind, we're going to do a jokom, which means a focused meditation, as opposed to an analytical meditation or a reviewing meditation. Focus your mind on the person sitting in front of you and concentrate on their silhouette as if it was a dark room and there was a light behind them and all you see is their outline. So get very clearly in your mind, and don't let your mind go to other things. Very clearly see the silhouette of the holy being that you have chosen to sit in front of you. Now focus on their eyes and just get their eyes right. They do have the rest of their body there, but you're focusing on the eyes and see the shape of the eyes, the color of the eyeballs, the pupils. Get everything just right. Their eyelids, their eyebrows. You're still dimly aware of the outline, but you're focusing on the eyes. Now the rest of the face and the hair. All the colors and shapes. Now the rest of the body and the clothing. Now feel the warmth of their body on yours. You know, you can feel if they're sitting near you, you can feel the warmth coming from them. Now some faint smell from their body, very, very wonderful. Pick your favorite smell, gardenia, jasmine, sandalwood. Now give them some motion, their breathing. You can see their body moving slightly, their chest. Their eyes blink once in a while. And if you put jewels on them, something glitters and shines in your eye every once in a while. And their hair moves a bit. Now try to feel the intense attraction they have for you, the pleasure they have from helping you and loving you and wanting to see you come to their level. And ask them to come and be part of you. And they rise up, and as they rise, their body gets smaller. And then finally they go up a little over your head, and then they move over your head, and they come down. And in that process, they're turning around until they're facing the same way as you, and they're sitting cross-legged on their head, and they're just small, like 3 inches high, 4 inches high. You could feel the warmth of their body, very, very warm. They have a very, almost supernatural warmth to their body. Then at the level of your heart, behind your heart, in a tiny little straw-like channel, prepare for them a little chamber. And it's like the pea of the princess and the pea, tiny little pea, and golden light, and a beautiful soft cushion of flower, a huge flower. It fits in a space about 1/8 of an inch across, or a little less than 1/4. But in your mind, it's about 6 feet across, because you're inside. And then slowly bring them down into it and feel them sliding down, straight down like an elevator shaft, just in front of your backbone. And you feel them coming down. You feel the warmth coming off their body. then place them in your heart, and it's warm, and it's gold, very beautiful light coming off their body. The light is like spreading throughout your body, and it helps you to act like them and think like them. So try to feel a little bit like you, almost like them. And then imagine that the light goes out of your body and touches other people and dedicate the good karma. You know, let it, imagine that the good karma of your meditation. People can tell if you had a fight with your wife in the morning, the way you act in the afternoon, and subconsciously they can tell. And then if you spent an hour of your day thinking all these holy thoughts, subconsciously people pick up on it. And pray for that. Pray that they get inspired by that. Okay, then relax and stretch a little bit. Okay. The outline for that practice is basically in Ganenhagyama, it's called the 1,000 Angels of the Heaven of Bliss or something like that. People correct me, they say, oh, it's not 1,000, it's 100. The point is, in the commentaries they say the point is that it's a lot. You know, that's the main thing. You're supposed to translate it with a word that means a lot. And that's an outline of that practice. But again, it's one of those dharma corruptions in the world that people get and they read their Ganenhagyama out loud and they don't do any of the steps that we just went through. And I hope that it doesn't become that in America. You know what I mean? The point is just to be an outline of what we just did. That's the whole Ganenhagyama. That's the 1,000 angels or whatever you want to call it. That's the point of that practice. I hope it doesn't become, in our country, just something that people recite in the morning, you know. And then they add 50 more recitations and then they fill up their 2 hours like that and then they go to work, you know, without thinking about it. So use it as an outline and not as a... Chanting it doesn't have much effect on your life, you know what I mean? It's some good karma to chant it. You get a little bit of good karma. But it's much, much more if you do what we just did. And it's even better if you do both. Okay, so should do it like that. And I pray that the pioneers of Buddhism in America have to figure out clever ways to prevent it from becoming a dogma or a ritual. You know, I had sponsors come to me and say, "Did you work on that yet?" And I'm like, "No, I didn't." You know, you know, how do you keep it alive, and how do you going to teach your children how to do it without it becoming some kind of dogma, or without it becoming just reciting it every morning and not thinking about it? You know, so that's a big challenge for a new Buddhist country. You know, I don't have an answer for that, and we can talk about it. Friday night, I think we're going to have a discussion time. So I'd be interested to hear what you have to say about that, because I didn't have any smart ideas about it. It seems very difficult to stop something from becoming a dogma or a ritual, you know. Even in my own life it's difficult. So I don't know even for many thousands of people how you're going to do that. Alice 10, can I put your tape recorder here? Okay. I don't think I can walk with it. Let's see if this works. I'm supposed to talk in this next class about the conditions for meditation, but I think I'll skip to the next class and we'll go back to the conditions tonight. I think if we're going to practice together, I should cover the posture, correct posture. So we'll do that next. So I hope that doesn't mess up your handouts, but maybe you can fix it during the break. Okay. All right. We're going to go through the correct posture for meditation. I think there's a couple of things important to say about it. One is that you will find other traditions in the world, many, many, many different ways to sit, you know, and it's not like we should fight about it, you know what I mean? You should, I'm going to teach you the correct posture according to orthodox, plain old, traditional Buddhism taught by Lord Buddha 2,500 years ago. This is the correct posture that was taught by Lord Buddha. It's supposed to be important for later practice, tantric practice, that you keep this posture or something very similar to it. So if your body has a problem, you know, if you have a bad leg, if you have a bad back, or other problems, you have to adjust the meditation to your body. And it would be very stupid or unwise to force yourself to do something that was painful all the time. And I'm talking in a case where it's not going to get better easily. You know what I mean? If you have a back problem or you have some other problem and you're a lot more comfortable in a chair, for goodness sake, sit in a chair, okay? Because if you sit there and force your body into something that you cannot do, and then you'll be concentrating on one thing, how bad it feels. You know what I mean? And your mind won't be able to concentrate on the meditation. The meditation is much more important than how you look to somebody else, okay? So we don't care what you look like. We're all going to close our eyes anyway. So take the position which is most comfortable for you. Having said that, the texts say if you can take the proper position, your practice of Tantra will be much, much more powerful. You know, this position was designed to have your channels in a certain configuration, and it's good for that, and it's important for that. So if the pain in your knees and your back is because you haven't been meditating enough, then you'll get over it. It'll go away. If it's some congenital problem, you know, if you broke your hip or something like that, or if you've always had a bad back, then don't force it. You know, for goodness sake, sit comfortably in a chair and modify it to your body. So that's the first thing that you have to say, okay? Again, it's called Nam Nang Chudun. I'll spell it for you. You have to get some more thick markers, okay? I don't know who's the person, but the thin ones are, well, they're just hard for people to see. Okay. Yeah. But the board is really nice. You've had this a couple times, but this will be the subject of this morning's talk, okay? Yeah.
Could you, just as a matter of protocol or method, could you spell out what you write in
Yeah.
English, because it would facilitate?
Okay. It also helps the video, I think. They asked me to do that. Okay. This is Nam Nang Chudun, Nam Nang Chu, C-H-U, and Dun, D-U-N, okay? Namnang again means Vairochana, one of the five Buddha, one of the Buddhas of the five families of Buddha. When you take a tantric initiation, you have 19 commitments to these five Buddhas. And some of them are to Vairochana, okay? Represents the purity or the absolute perfection of the Buddha's physical form in the form of a person itself. So the purity of the bodies of the Buddha is not a person, but if you took all that purity and made it into the form of a person, that would be Vairochana. So that's a very good one for your physical posture during meditation. That's the point. That's why they call it Vairochana. Okay? Cha means, in this case, like points of posture. If you get into translating, again, cha, you have to be creative about it. It has 11 official meanings. It has probably 50 unofficial meanings. Okay? Like the 8 worldly dharmas is kind of a weird translation. You see what I mean? It's more like the 8 worldly thoughts or something. And when you reach the word dharma and you're translating, you can't just blindly translate it as dharma. Okay? You have to think about what it means. Sometimes it means all existing things. Sometimes it means a quality. It can mean a bad quality. And sometimes it means the teachings. And so you have to be careful. Dun means 7. 7 points of the posture, of the meditation posture of Vairochana. Okay? And as we said yesterday, there's going to be 8 because you add the breathing practice. Okay? And this is very traditional that you explain it as 7 and then at the end you say, but it's really 8. Okay? Okay. Okay, first one is say Gangba, Kitung. Gangba, Kitung. Gangba means legs, okay? I tell a joke to my students. Tung means to drink, and Gangtung is a name for plants, okay? Because they drink from their gangbas, okay? So it's an easy way to remember the word Gangba. Kiltung means cross-legged, okay? Yeah, I'm sorry. Kangba is K-A-N-G-P-A. Kiltung is K-Y-I-L. T-R-U-N-G. Okay, Kiltung. There's 2 kinds of Kiltungs. This means cross your legs, by the way. There's 2 kinds of Kiltungs, a full lotus and a half lotus. If you're doing a full lotus, you put your left foot up first on your right thigh, okay? So it would be, this foot up on here, all right? And then after that, you put up the right leg over that. And then you mush it in pretty tight, okay? And a couple things to say about a full lotus. I don't advise it for most people because it's so uncomfortable after about 10 minutes that, again, you start meditating on your feet and you forget to meditate about whatever you're supposed to be meditating about. So I don't suggest it for most people. It is very, very desirable in the higher practices, tantric practices, if you can do it. Okay, when you get to Dzogchen, it's highly desirable if you can do it. So, and maybe you could do it during the preliminaries, and then when you come out of the preliminaries, shift your legs. But get used to it. If you practice it, you can do it. Your joints will spread out a little bit, your tendons will spread out a little bit, and you'll be able to do it. But I don't advise trying to do it for an hour at the beginning. and because it'll just cause you pain and you won't be able to think about what's important. And even in tantric practice, they say if you can't do it, it's okay, and go ahead with a half lotus. Okay, so don't worry about that. If you can do it, it's good. The nice thing about a full lotus is that it forces your back straight, and it also gives you a nice little cup to put your hands in. You see what I mean? Your palms fit right into the parts of the bottom of your feet. The sole's right here, and it's very convenient for you. So if you can do it, it's very nice. If you do a half lotus, and I taught this wrong in the past, okay? If you have the notes for this class, it's wrong. I assumed it was left foot up and right foot down. And upon studying many scriptures, they all say the same thing, which is now you reverse it. If you're going to do a half lotus, put your right leg up first, and let your left leg stay down on the ground. Okay?
Does it make a difference?
You know, a lot of this kind of stuff, you have to follow what the scriptures say, because there might be some secret tantric reason that they're not going to tell you from the beginning. So I'd say it probably does make a difference, because every scripture I checked, and I checked maybe 15, said the same thing. So maybe there's some reason that we can't talk about or I don't know about. Okay, but it seems like that's what they all say. So, you know, I'm very traditional that way. Yeah. Yeah, for a full lotus, left leg up first, left foot up first on the right thigh, followed by the right foot up on the left thigh. Okay, cross like that. And then for a half lotus, reverse it. Put the right foot up first on the left, tuck it up. If you can't get it up on the left thigh, tuck it up in the joint there, and then let the other one stay down on the ground flat like that. And if you keep practicing, it'll get more and more comfortable. Just a practical note, if you start to do a half lotus, they call it in Tibetan like a burr here, the bump on your ankle here, that'll be flat down on the ground, and it'll start to hurt. And the blood will get cut off there, and your leg will start to fall asleep. So it's very important when you meditate that you have a large square cushion under you, about, thick. But not so thick that you're like going like that. But something to keep that burr off the wood or the cement or wherever you are. So really you have to have two parts to your meditation cushion. There should be like a zafu sort of thing under your butt, and then a larger square cushion, so that when your legs are on the floor, the blood will get cut off. If you have a problem with your legs falling asleep quickly, you might try that. In general, in the monastery, if you go to your lama and you say, my legs are falling asleep, he'll say, okay, let them fall asleep, don't worry about it. It tingles for a bit, and just ignore it. And then afterwards, the tingling stops and it's just dead. And don't move. And let it fall asleep. And that's fine. They say, no problem. It doesn't hurt you. It's a little disconcerting, but it's actually better later. If you're completely dead, you can't hurt, and nothing hurts after that. So the only trick is don't get up quickly. You know what I mean? I met Professor Thurman in New York the first time, and he had a cast on, and I was like, "What happened?" He said, "Well, I just jumped up after the phone rang, and his leg was asleep, and he broke his ankle, So don't do that. All right, get up slowly. Be careful that you get up slowly, okay? That's about all on the... If you choose to do a half lotus, which I advise you to do, it means the two soles of your feet won't be available to be that nice cup for your hands. You see what I mean? They'll just be half of a cup, and it'll be down lower. You can experiment with yourself. And that's... So it's very good to take a little piece of cloth with you and roll it up and put it on your lap, so that when you cup your hands, it's up high enough, okay? As if you were in a full lotus, okay? So if you do a half lotus, you'll find that your hands are down around here. And then your back tends to bend, okay? So it's good to roll up a little piece of cloth, and it'll take your hands up to here. They say in many scriptures that if you press the thumbs in, it would touch your belly button. Now, different people have different bodies, okay? Some belly buttons are up here, some are down there, you know, okay? So don't be upset if you, the point is that when your back is straight, if you were in a full lotus, for most people that would be the top of the thumbs would be very close to your navel, okay? And there are some practices in the higher teachings where you have to press into your navel. So you want to try to get used to that now, okay? It's also very good then that your elbows are away from your body and heat doesn't build up in your body. It's like a vent here. And that's important later when your tummo gets really good. You need some air conditioning. You need some ventilation there. Seriously, if you're like this, it builds up too much heat in your body. And heat makes you sleepy. Dangerous, okay? So try to, get in your position and then move your elbows forward a little bit, okay? That also helps keep your back straight. Then you have sort of like a tripod holding up your back, okay? And that's useful, okay? So try to keep your elbows away from your body, okay? Second quality. I'll say it out for people who can't see it. It's Mik, M-I-K, Miye, M-I-Y-E, and then Misum, M-I-S-U-M. Say Mik, Miye, Misum. Okay. Mik means your eyes. Okay, Mik. In Tibetan, mostly for body parts, there's a common word and an honorific word. Like the honorific is Chen, like in Chen Rei Sik, loving eyes, the one who looks with loving eyes. Okay, so the non-honorific is Mik. Okay, Mi means not. Miye means don't open them too wide, like all the way open. Misum means don't shut them all the way, okay? Misum means don't shut them all the way. Now that you have to talk about. People ask me, should I open my eyes or not? You know what I mean? And there's advantages to both and disadvantages to both, and you have to do what fits your body. Meditation posture is a very personal thing. Everybody's body is different. And you have to, Jetsun Kappa, after saying all this, says, by the way, do whatever fits your body, okay? And he says, only by meditating over and over again will you discover the best combination for yourself, for your own body and your own mind. And you have to do that. You have to experiment and find what's most comfortable for you. If you keep your eyes totally closed, it's okay. You can do that. The disadvantage is that your body for 30, 40, 50 years has been trained that when you close the eyes, it's supposed to go to sleep. So it can be really, you've got, 30, 40, 50 years of conditioning to go to sleep after your eyes are closed. So it might be difficult to break that. And you might find that you get a little drowsy, okay? On the other hand, closing your eyes allows you to concentrate a lot better. And you don't get, your eyes don't get distracted. You see what I mean? So you have to find what's better for you. The scripture also says you shouldn't keep them wide open. Like that. And in that case, you'd start to look around the room, and anytime something moves, your eye will be caught, and you'll be distracted, okay? Ideal, if it's comfortable, okay, is like that. It's like sort of cracked open, like that, okay? And that's why you see those Buddha eyes, it's kind of like that. So it's kind of like somebody who's a little drunk or something, and they're, okay? A lot of scriptures say focus on the tip of your nose. And I've met a lot of Americans who are like cross-eyed on it. If you know Tibetan well, what the book says is focus on the plane of your nose. You see what I mean? Around here. It doesn't mean cross your eyes and focus on the tip of your nose, okay? And that's a mistranslation. And I don't know how many Americans have suffered because of it, you know. The point is that if you had a piece of glass and you put it here, touching your nose, then your eyes should be focused right around here. That means you won't be able to see anything. You see what I mean? And you know how to do this because when you're in a real good daydream about that guy or that girl, you know, you're like, you know, and your eyes aren't focused on anything. You see what I mean? The point is that your eyes are focusing right here. If the pen was there, you would see it. And if it wasn't there, you would just be like spacing out, okay? It's like when you're really, really listening to some good music and you're like, you know, and you're not focusing your eyes on anything. So the idea is not to focus your eyes. If you, and best if you can keep them like half down, okay? This is also important in later practices. You know, in some later practices, you're keeping your eyes up like that, okay? And that comes later. But this is like a thing like that. It's a common thing for people who, when they crack their eyes open and they lower their head. You know what I mean? And that's a bad thing. You shouldn't do that, okay? Your head shouldn't be like that. As we go on through these classes, I'll start walking around during meditation and I'll, you know, hit you on the chin. That means get your head up, okay? All right? You shouldn't be like that. That's very bad for your channels around the neck area. And it shouldn't be too, it should be just straight, okay? So it's hard, and you have to practice, but you're like a soldier. You know, your head is, it's not like that, it's not like that. It's straight, but your eyes are down like that, okay? And your eyelids are down a little bit, like that, okay? And that's ideal if you can do that. There's an instruction in the Tibetan scriptures that if you're meditating in front of your altar, which is very common, and most Americans just take a small coffee table or a nightstand and they make their altar off of that, that the cloth in front of you should be a plain color. Shouldn't be like checkered or have a design on it or anything like that. In other words, another part of the instruction about your eyes is that there shouldn't be anything in your field of vision that would distract you. Magazines, books are very distracting. You see, I mean, your mind, especially in long retreats, your eyes will get magnetized. You know, they go directly if there's some kind of writing or some kind of picture or some kind of design, and you have to get them all out of the room, out of your meditation space, out of your field of vision, okay? You can put all your Dharma books in the back, okay? And there shouldn't be anything in your field of vision except plain color, some kind of plain, solid color, okay? Otherwise, your eye will tend to, if you crack your eyes open, they'll tend to catch on that. If you find yourself getting too distracted, close them. If you find yourself getting too sleepy, open them. You see what I mean? And you can use that as a control valve for your sleepiness, okay? It helps. It helps a little bit, okay? That's about all on the ice. The English letters here are Lu, L-U, Trangbor, D-R-A-N-G, P-O-R, and then Sang, S-A-N-G. Say Lu, Trangbor, Sang. Lu, Trangbor, Sang. Lu means your body, but here it means your torso, and specifically your back. Okay, it means your back here. Changbo means very straight. Sang means make it straight. Okay, straighten it up. Straighten up your back is Vairochana meditation posture point number 3. Okay. In the scriptures they say the gyaltsik, which means your vertebrae, should be like a stack of coins stacked on each other. And there's a place, again, a lot of these things you will only become aware of them if you meditate a lot. You know, I can describe them, but you don't know what I'm talking about until you meditate a lot. But you reach a kind of place when you meditate where it feels just right. It feels like each one is stacked on the other one, and you can feel it. You know, it feels very centered and very grounded. And it's like trying to balance a bunch of coins, and then finally you get them just right. You know, all the rims lined up, and it's just got this solidity, and you'll feel it when you hit it, and you won't hit it if you don't try a lot. And then you'll just you'll say, oh my gosh, it feels just right. You know, each vertebrae is on, you know, technically your vertebrae go like that or whatever, but it'll feel like it's a straight stack of coins. It'll feel very grounded. And you have to experiment until you find that place. I found that typically the whole torso is a little bit too tilted back. And if you try, I mean, just a suggestion, you know, tilt it up straight, just a touch. Tilt it forward, just a touch. It forces your back to get straight. So you're like this, right? Most people tilt a little too far back, and then they curve their shoulders down. And then the airs can't get through your channels, okay? So the back should be straight. And I suggest, the scriptures say tilt forward just a tiny, tiny touch without bending. You see what I mean? The whole thing is straight and it tilts forward just a touch. They say something like, if a teardrop came off your face, that it would drop in your belly button. I don't know. But the whole, if you try it sometime, okay, try it. Typically for Americans, they lean back a bit too much and then they have to bend their shoulders. And try straightening up and then going forward just a bit. And I found that when you get into deep meditation, it's distracting to straighten up. You don't want to move even enough to straighten up. But if you just slightly pivot off your hips, you know, come forward just a bit, you straighten up automatically. So you got to try it, okay? And you'll know what I'm talking about. But try not to get into this thing where your back is bent like this, and where you know, like that, where your channels get cut off at your shoulders and at your neck, okay? The whole thing has to be like a soldier, okay? You'll find that when you're very intent on a movie, the expression in English, sitting on the edge of your seat, your interest in the movie straightens out your back. You'll notice that, and that's a channel thing. That's a wind thing, you see? Your concentration is best, even in a movie, when your back is straight. And you'll find a big connection between having a straight back and being able to concentrate well. And there's a tantric grounding for that. You know, the winds are able to move well, and therefore the mind is able to move well. So it's just a good practice all day long, if you're going to be a meditator, to keep your back straight, okay, as much as you can. Some kinds of exercises are really good for that. And I think a gentle, non-vain exercise is very good for that. Yoga is good. Tai Chi or Aikido or things like that are good. Dancing is very good. So something that strengthens your back is good. And I'm not talking about Arnold Schwarzenegger or something. You don't have to do that. I'm talking about mild, consistent 15 minutes a day, 20 minutes a day of some kind of thing to strengthen your back. Your meditation will get much, much better. You know, I'm not an exercise freak. I think you can really waste your time if you get into it too much. But it's very important that your body be strong and that your back be strong. Too much muscle, I think, gets in the way sometimes. So you have to find something that makes your back strong, but also supple and light. You see what I mean? So try that. It's very good for you if you can do that. You have to watch your diet also. If your weight is not commensurate with your body, then you'll have a hard time keeping your back straight. So that's important. And I don't, there's this obsession in America with looking right and stuff like that. I'm not talking about that. That's a very dangerous and very distracting. To worry about your physical appearance is very bad for your spiritual life. But if your weight fits your frame, you'll be able to meditate a lot better. So just in the interest of meditation, try to control how much you eat and what kinds of thing you eat, because it'll disturb your meditation. Okay, if your tummy is smaller and you're light, then the meditation is much more powerful, much better. Okay, so just for that reason, it's worth it to try, to start drinking more, eating less, like that. Maybe eat 2 times a day instead of 3 times a day, something like that. Monks are traditionally not allowed to eat after noon, or if we have to, then we're still encouraged only to eat twice a day, monks and nuns. And I they taught me that in the monastery. I did it since, 15 years or something. And it doesn't affect your health at all. You don't need it. I don't know why we eat 3 meals a day. You don't need it. You really don't need it, Twice a day is fine. And I haven't had any physical problems from it or anything. I think even the opposite is that you feel light, you feel healthy, and I don't think you need 3. If you need a little snack, if you get lightheaded or something, even as a monk or a nun who has taken vows not to eat after noon, you're encouraged to eat, Like it's not like some kind of a, how to say, in Buddhism the rules are meant to serve the people and not the people to serve the rules, you know what I mean? So if you get lightheaded or you had a rough day at work or or you're feeling tired or in low energy, okay, drink something, eat something, you know what I mean? But let your food be fuel for your body and only use food when you have to. You know what I mean? Use it to serve your body. And if you feel a little lightheaded, eat something. And then you'll be able to meditate better. Okay? Although not before you meditate. You should schedule it, You cannot meditate with food in your belly. Forget it. Okay? Just forget it. Impossible. All the texts say that, especially the tantric texts. They're very clear. They say, don't do that. Okay? I can't control my eating. Someone gives me a box of a tin of ginger cookies, like Gail did, I'll eat the whole thing. So what I do is I get my students to help me control myself, and I keep them close to me. And we even share our food and like that. So we kind of have this informal deal. We don't eat unless we eat together, and we give each other the food, and we help each other. And you might try to find a friend like that. I honestly, if you give me a box of cookies, I'll eat the whole thing. And I'm just a normal American, so it's good to have some friends that are very close to you, eat together with them, and then help each other, you know what I mean? And make faces when they start on their 10th cookie, and I found that to be very good, have someone close to you, help you eat. And I'm not being, it's an important thing, when you're meditating. It becomes an important thing. It sounds silly, you need someone to help you eat or something like that, but it works. It really does work, okay? This is the importance of having some good Dharma friends, you know what I mean? And being around them all the time. Having them close to you, being in close contact with Dharma friends is that you can't keep your awareness, sheishin, all day long. It's impossible. You're going to have an hour when you're very vulnerable to a cookie attack, and that's when it's important to have some Dharma friends around, who can stare at you while you're eating the box of cookies. And then you'll feel embarrassed, especially if you're the Lama, Okay. Say Chakpa, Nyamba. Chakpa, Nyamba. Chakpa refers to your shoulders, okay? Nyamba means on an even plane. We had Nyamshak yesterday, meaning meditation, equilibrium. What was that equal between what and what? Yeah, dullness and agitation. I'm going to keep talking about that over and over again. You know, over here is dullness. You know, over here is agitation. Dullness being the state brought on by food, lack of sleep, okay, warmth of the room, which we'll experience this afternoon, and agitation being, for me, and I bet it's the same for most of you, thinking about what I'm going to do today or tomorrow, you know, like plans for my work. And, you know, you're encouraged in America ever since you were a kid to plan ahead and think about your day, and this is a good thing, but in meditation it's an enemy. It's a deadly enemy. You know, you can't plan your day or your life during meditation. I don't know how many meditators I've met, including myself, who use their 1-month retreats to plan their next business venture. You know, and they come out of retreat and they start talking to you about this new business idea they had, and you're like, what were you doing during your retreat? You know? Okay. You want to stay somewhere here, right in the middle. That's Nyamba. And there's this huge enemy who lives right here, right off of equilibrium on the dull side. What is it? Chingwa Chamo. Say Chingwa. Chamo. Subtle dullness. Spacing out, sitting perfectly, silent for 2 hours, not twitching a muscle, and holding the object. But no ngar. Say ngar. Ngar. Ngar means the quality in a knife when it's tempered. It's the temper of a knife, and it's used in meditation. It means the vividness of the meditation, or the, you know what I mean?